So I'm going to turn this evening over to one of the members of our board, Dawn Reid, who has organized this evening, including the speakers. So Dawn, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight's session, and hopefully we'll do
A little closer.
a closer. Maybe one. So first we have to do an acknowledgement of the land. We acknowledge being on the traditional unceded homeland of the Mi'kmaq, the first people of Mi'kmaq, which is Prince Edward Island. May we always respect the agreements of our ancestors in order to move forward in a meaningful way for our next generations. Thank you. So tonight's talk is on reflections on Central Bedeque, a community shaped by sport. The Bedeque Rink, which the first picture we have is the one on the old Bedeque Rink. It shows from drone.
Is the mic not on?
Still not?
Closer to
Oh, yeah, I need lights though.
Need lights.
Yeah. Thank you. The Bedeque Area Recreation Center, located in Central Bedeque, Prince Edward Island, was served as a cornerstone of community life for decades. It is a vital facility for minor and recreational hockey and remains a focal point for physical activity in the region. The recreational center itself has deep roots in the community, with origins tracing back to 1928 when it was built. So it was built in 1928. The first fire, it burned twice, and after the second fire, it lost the roof because they hadn't completed enough. The second fire only burned some of the rooms, the change rooms. So the roof, the first fire was in 1972, the second fire was in 1978, and at that same time, during that year, we lost the roof. The current indoor ice rink opened around 1950. Historical accounts suggested that the structure is at least the second facility we have existed on in a specific site, reflecting the community's long-standing dedication to winter sports. Throughout its history, the facility has been the home base for local minor hockey programs, providing boys and girls in the area with consistent opportunities to participate in ice sports. It has also hosted various recreational hockey leagues over the years. The arena has served as a competitive venue as well. For example, it was the home rink for the Bedeque Red Wings during the 1998-1999 season of the Prince Edward Island Minor Junior Hockey League. The community of Bedeque and area continues to prioritize local recreation. In recent years, local municipal discussions have explored the modernization of the facilities, including the potential construction of a new outdoor rink infrastructure and associated amenities to complement the existing recreational landscape. The rink continues to be a recognized and active facility, often managed under the banner of Bedeque and area recreation, maintaining its status as a vital part of the social and physical infrastructure of Lot 26. And most of the information is actually in the museum, so you can drop by some of the artifacts in the museum and see. Raised in Central Bedeque, Prince Edward Island, most of my free time was spent at the heart of our community, the Central Bedeque Rink. It was more than just a place for sports. It was a gathering spot, a social hub, and a space where lifelong friendships were forged. The rink stood as a symbol of unity, drawing together kids and families from all around the area. My involvement in sports began at the rink and extended onto the diamond and the soccer pitch. I participated in baseball, hockey, and soccer, all of which were vital threads to the fabric of our small community. The rink was a place where memories were made, where there was excitement of a hockey game, or the camaraderie in the locker room. One of my proudest accomplishments was helping to establish the soccer program in Central Bedeque, which was a 10-year program. The soccer field still is located west of the rink. My good friend Paul Fanuff was the one that put in the facade for that field. And like I say, the program lasted 10 years and it still exists today. We earned 4 provincial championships and 2 maritime championships during that 10-year period. These victories were celebrated by the entire community and remain an important part of Central Bedeque's sporting history. I took on several roles within our local sports scene, including coaching hockey and refereeing with Brenton Gardner in the Hockey League. I played for 2 memorial teams, Charlie's Angels and the Heckford Studio Colts. Each season brought new challenges and triumphs, and the friendships developed through those teams have lasted a lifetime. Beyond coaching and playing, I also contributed as a firefighter when the rinks burned. And for that, the community gave me a lifetime membership, which meant a great deal to me, not only as a symbol of gratitude, but also as a reminder of the resilience of our community. The rink rat and Bill Bagnall. The rink was overseen by manager Bill Bagnall, whose dedication and spirit made every event more memorable. We had a lot of fun together, and under Bill's guidance, we became known as the Rink Rats by members of the surrounding communities. This nickname captured our enthusiasm and commitment, and it's a badge we wore proudly. My brother Bill tells of a story where Bill, even though he respected what we did for the community and for the rink, but at the same time he sort of begrudged the fact that we were using ice time that he could have been generating revenue from. So later on, he would take the fuses out of the fuse box. Right? My brother Bill, who's really into the science, thought, oh yeah, I'll get the pennies, copper pennies. So he took copper pennies and inserted the copper pennies into the fuse box and gave us lights. Anyway, looking back, the time spent at the Central Bedeque Rink and on the soccer field shaped who I am. The lessons learned, the friendships formed, and the sense of belonging to a passionate community have stayed with me. The soccer program and the rink, despite their trials and tribulations, continue to stand as monuments as a part of Central Bedeque, a place where sport, teamwork, and fun brought everyone together. Like the rink itself, the original site, would be 98 years old. So come 2028, we probably should celebrate a 100-year anniversary. Okay, Ron Rayner has lived in Central Bedeque all of his life, less 1 year. I'm just out of 80 years old and has been on the town council off and on for 50 years and retired as mayor in 2022. He was the original board of directors for Community of Central Bedeque. Served on the minor hockey board in the 70s and coached minor hockey, winning 2 Island championships, and was 1 goal away from the 3rd. He's presently helping Kevin McKenney with the maintenance of McKenna Field in Lubbock. I introduce you to Ron Rayner.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate the good words. Basically, I'm listed here as taking you up until the first fire. No, I'm not going to go that far. My era was the 50s and 60s. So I'm going to bestow upon you a bunch of the comical things that have happened in that era that I can remember. I told my wife, once they get me talking, I can go for 2 hours, easy. But I have to keep it down to 15 minutes. So I do have some cue cards. You brought glasses for me, see? Can't see within me. Number 1, the first thing that I remember was the moonlight skates at the Bedeque Rink. When it was announced that there was going to be a moonlight skate, oh God, the hype was something desperate. You could just feel electricity going through everybody. At 6:30 in the evening, the entryway was full of people getting ready to go to the moonlight skate at the Bedeque Rink. And when you walked through the door, the first thing that met you was nothing. There was 4 little lights, one over the girls' dressing room, one over the canteen, one at the entry, and one at the men's room. And everything else was dark. You had to line up and wait until 7 o'clock and somebody threw the switch. And good God, the moon come up on the south end of the rink. The full moon. The full moon back in the 60s was a 60-watt light bulb in a Scottish potato chip box with the front cut out of it. And that was all that we needed to make it memorial. That was a fantastic evening. This is something that a lot of people, you have to be 60 to remember. How many here remember the bleachers that used to be in the old original rink? We had bleachers. And that was when the rink was built in 28, that they put bleachers in the south end of the rink. They were wonderful for the moonlight skate, because it was surprising how tired you got skating. And with a young lady on your arm, you would skate, oh God, I'm feeling tired. And the song of the era was, I'll go just beyond the moon, then I will stop and wait for you. So you didn't dare be seen leaving the ice together. So one went, usually the guy first, and he would go up into the bleachers where it was dark. And a little while later, the young lady had come. Jesus, at the end of it, there was no room in the bleachers for nobody. There was nobody skating. Oh, there we go. Now, getting to the rink was something else. Back in the 50s, early 60s, there wasn't much mode of transportation. I lived on, at that time, the Bagnall Road, and now they call it the Dove River Road, and it was not plowed often. So everybody walked to the rink. There was, what I recall, from Freetown, Eldon Drummond's truck would come, an old international truck, and it would be loaded with Drummond kids and people from Freetown. And Douglas Athlete from Lower Bedeque, he brought a whole gang up, but everybody from this area here, we all walked to the rink. The thing that amazes me the most was that in North Bedeque, there was 2 or 3 families, and there was 9 or 10 people would walk every Saturday night to the rink, and that was the Reeves family. There's a couple of members here tonight with them, and they would walk to that rink an hour over, 2 hours of skating, and then an hour back home. And this particular, I sort of had a crush on one of these here little Reeves girls, and I said, geez, I'm going to walk over to North Bedeque. That worked out fine until we got out of the village. The top of the hill before Sidney Green's warehouse, there was not a darn thing between us and the Bay of Chaleur except the lighthouse in McCollum's Point, and the lights, or the windows were broken in. Wind. As soon as that wind hit you, that was it. I decided, Ron, it's time to turn and go back to the village, let them pull us over their way. They did that every week. It was just amazing. Now, in that group, and I will be touching on this a little later too, there was a young gentleman by the name of Gerald David Lester. How many of you remember Gerald David? That fella was he would be the taller Cranston of that generation. He could skate forward, backwards, sideways, you name it, Babe Lester could do it. I remember you'd be skating along, there was probably somebody in an arm or what, and all of a sudden he'd come from behind, skating backwards, and pull out and pass you, and go the other way, and turn and go. I never seen him do a triple axel, but I seen him do a lot of the other maneuvers that skaters do. He was the best you would ever want to see. And I will be touching on him shortly. The name mentioned earlier was Billy Bagnall. Nothing to do with the rink, but a lot to do with getting there. This particular week at school, Billy announced that I'm taking a horse and sleigh to the skate Saturday night. Anybody want to ride? Jump on. Woo! Horse and sleigh. As our road wasn't plowed, transportation was big time. And going down, there was hardly anybody on the sleigh. Now keep in mind that this was a farm sleigh, and you didn't dare sit down because 2 hours later they were cleaning out the cow stables, if you know what I mean. So anyway, coming back, there would be at least 10 people not sitting down, standing up on the sleigh. And Bill was driving. The old horse's name was Jack. They had 3, King, Queen, and Jack, and that was the first time I ever seen Jack hitch. He did along all right. He's plodding along. There's about 10 of us on the sleigh. And just as we got directly across the road, about where the crosswalk goes there now, there was an old apple tree there. And why he did it, I don't know, but my brother reached out and he grabbed an apple, a crab apple off the tree, and we're plodding along up the road, everything is going good until we get up just a beam of Billy Colby's house, which wasn't there then. And as horses do, Jack nonchalantly lifted the tail and he breezed out a big dandy, like that. It was one of, anybody that's 60 or older, you would remember the warm air on your face as it went by. So anyhow, my brother, who was standing at the very back of the sleigh, had the crab apple. And Jack was plodding along like that, and my brother let fly with that crab apple and hit old Jack right fair in the bullseye. 3 things happened. Jack's eyes turned white, his head went up, and his tail went down tight, which amplified the problem because there was a stem still on the apple, and we took off. The first step, old Jack, he was southbound and down and heading out of town, I'm telling you. Ed fell off the back. The sleigh went sideways into the cutting. The road wasn't plowed, but where the plow had gone through, there was a big cutting about that high. We went into that sideways and that upset the sleigh. Everybody fell off, including Bill. The last we seen was old Jack heading over the hill, and I mentioned that to Leslie Hooper many years later. Leslie lived up there. He said, Ron, he said, I remember that. And he said, I wonder where in the dickens the horse with no driver was going. He said, but that horse. I said, yeah. He said, he was going so fast, excuse the term, but he said, you couldn't see his arse for heels going up the hill. So, we never got to go by horse and sleigh again. That was the last time that Bill got the horse. Could somebody bring me a cup of water, please? I know, Carol.
I told them.
Yeah. One Saturday night, there was a, well, it was just a general skate, I think you done. I got it. Yeah, it's okay. This Saturday night, there was a major snowstorm on, and the regular people from outside of town couldn't get in, but there was about 10 of us had walked to the rink. And how many here remember a fellow by the name of Johnny Beaver? Johnny the Beaver. He worked for Colby's. Catherine, you would remember him. Johnny the Beaver was there, and we were all standing around, and Winkle, Everett Bradshaw, was general manager. This was before Billy Baggie's days. And Winkle had come out around, and Johnny had started, oh yeah, they said you could skate, blah, 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 and I'd like to see you skate. Oh, Jesus, young fella, I could outskate you any day. Oh, no, I like just, you get some skates and want to see you skate. Winkle just put his head down, said nothing, and about 10 minutes later he came back, and he had a pair of goalie skates, about that long. They were rounded at the front, they were rounded at the back. He sat down on, there was 2 steps coming out of the men's room onto the ice. He sat down on one of them, and he put them skates on, and we're, ho, 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 this is going to be fun. Winkle's going to fall. Oh, got to give him room. So he got the skates on, and he stepped out on the ice, and he sort of did the Muhammad Ali shuffle. He just shuffled the feet back and forth like that a little bit. Took the old pipe out. I always smoked a pipe. Took the pipe out, tapped it on the boards, no tobacco, tamped her in, and he lit it with a Big Eddie match. Nowadays they have Bic lighters and fancy stuff. He had a Big Eddie match. He struck the match, 2 or 3 puffs out of that. He just looked like Casey Jones and the wreck of the old 97 when he started off. That man, and this is true, he put his hands behind his back like that, and he was sort of bowed over a bunch like I am now anyway, and he gives the skates another shuffle. Now, Winkle's feet were pointed out that way. Now we figure, how is this devil, this man going to skate straight ahead with his feet out like that? He lined them up and he took off. He made 2 full circles around the rink. That man could skate. Look, he was taking strides from ear to head along, the head down, and the 3rd time around, he went into one of those where they turn around and they skate backwards with the skate out. To see that man skate, it was just something else. And he turned and he went back and took the skates off. We never teased Winkle again about skating, I can assure you of that. Oh, my next story is, if you were at a function at the Bedeque Rink when the Mala hockey game skating, what, Carol? 4 minutes? That's all that's left? Ooh. And you had to go to the canteen, there was always a pot about yay big, and it was sitting on a one of those butane naphtha gas heaters. You had to pump it up, get the fire going. And if they run out of wieners, Winkle grabbed the 3 or 4 and he threw them in the pot, turned the heat back up, you come in and you ask for a hot dog. Now, if they didn't sell today, they were in the pot tomorrow night. You know what wieners do in 48 hours in hot water. So that big around. Anyhow, there'd be 2 or 3 of them floating in the pot. You'd ask for a hot dog. He would take the bun, which is steaming on one side, and he would open her up, and the old bare hand into the pot. Put the wiener in there and hand it out, and then he... Honest to God. And there's the mustard, that'll be a quarter. So that's how you got, and they were good. They were good. Okay, I have some artifacts here that we're going to discuss. Now, I want anybody that recognizes this, please put your hand up, but don't tell anybody else what it is. There's a gentleman, another one back there. That is the original skate sharpener from the old Bedeque Rink. I have it, and I'm going to be donating it to the museum. And how that worked is box number 2. You took a skate, just slid her in through here, like that, and you tighten these things down like that. Then there would be a little grinding stone there, and they just slid that back and forth, like that, until it was nice and sharp. I remember Leslie Hooper, Edison Wright, Brewer Johnson, John Dowell from up the hill, all being great skate sharpeners. Cost you a quarter. Gordon Reid, I'd like you to come over here for a second. Come on. I want you to check that skate for me. Take a look inside the tongue, and what do you see?
Jerry Lester.
Jerry Lester. How I come upon Jerry Lester's skate after 60 years, I can thank that young lady there. Jerry Lester's, Babe Lester's skate. These were the skates that he would wear because they acquired it around 60, which make him 50 years of age. I want to show you something. Now, we talk reverently of Babe Lester. If you look closely at this skate, that blade had been broken twice. Welded, and I can assure you, his father welded that skate. Now, yep, what letters do you see on that? LS, left side. So Babe would know, don't put them on the wrong feet. So all things weren't good all that time. That's the skates that Babe Lester wore. Where I found them, I came down here, I needed a skate to show you guys this. This lady took me upstairs with a pile of skates, which was where the Freetown Royals equipment was, and I said, there's exactly what I want. I pulled that skate out, and it can't be. Babe Lester skate with the Freetown Royals. Okay, now, I got one more thing that I'm going to ask you. Every story that I have told you, I have a little artifact or something to back it up. I want you to close your eyes. I'm setting this in your hand. Do you recognize what that might be?
It's an apple and that's off.
That's a got a crab apple that was recovered from Jack. Thank you, Gordon.
No?
Now, these, believe it or not, was the goalie skates that Winkle wore when he put the performance on for us guys. They were found hanging on a nail in his barn down here not long ago. So that tells me that they are the original skates that Winkle wore to put on his display. The amazing thing about this, no ankle supports, no back supports, and he skated with no socks. That's how he skated, no socks in them skates. So that's the part of Winkle skating. The last part of my presentation. I was very impressed with that, really. This was recovered after the '72 fire. And it was the pot that they used to use to cook the wieners in Now, I sort of doubted that when I got it, and I looked it over close. First I thought it was Pardino. Is that what they call it, Pardino? Yeah, I thought that was that, until I turned it over. Mr. Winkle. The original pot that cooked all the wieners for us sold us down at the rink. So, some people say I tell tall stories, long stories, lie stories. I don't tell a story without having something to back me up, and there's the proof of every one of the stories I told you. Oh yeah, something I wanted to mention that it wasn't in there's a Don and a Donnie, wasn't in Donnie's presentation. Back in the 60s, Bedeque Rink was known for having the hardest, longest lasting natural ice on PEI. We had the Royals, Freetown Royals, playing playoff games at the end of April in Bedeque Rink. I was one of the rink rats. I remember having a great big long ice scraper wrapped in potato bags. Do you remember those? Too much you're shaking your head. We had to go to the south end and gather the water, which is about that deep, and take it to the exit at the men's dressing room, and there was 3 boards that they pulled out. And we all come together and the water out onto the highway. And well, it was ritual. I get in for free, saved me a quarter, so if I can go out and help scrape the ice off, I did it. I think that pretty well wraps up my presentation. I know there's all kind of, my time up, Carol? I was allowed 15 minutes and Don told me I could have 2 or 3 of hers, so. Our next guest speaker is going to be Stephen White. Here is a quick bio on Stephen. He was born in Summerside, lived and raised in Bedeque from 5 years old. Parents were Peter and Helen. Had 4 other siblings. He attended Acadia University, obtained a PEI degree, and played varsity football. Attended UNB and obtained a BEd degree while there. Was a teacher for 34 years, with the first 23 of them in Manitoba, before moving back home to PEI in 2008. I present to you Stephen White.
Thanks everyone, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I see a few familiar faces. They might recognize me. Back in this time when I'm speaking about, I had a lot of hair. I mean a lot. And anyways, I'm covering the decade of the 70s, and most of my stuff is true. Some of it I can't repeat. But anyways, I'm just going to give you, like Ronnie said, about 10 minutes of that decade that I remember. First part of the decade, it was the older rink. I remember that rink because it was natural ice, chicken wire in the ends, and very small, dark rink. One of my memories of that rink is my father, who some of you might know, who didn't play sports. He was more of a fisherman hunter. All of a sudden, and this probably was in April, the ice was starting to melt, and he was playing broom ball. And there was a little bit of water on the ice, and all of a sudden, Mom says, "You're going up to watch your father play broom ball." I go, "What? Dad's never been on ice." But look, he's playing goalie, and he's got the hip waders on. Hard to believe, but it's true. I remember it fondly. Hip waders playing hockey, or playing broom ball. It was the hub of the community, the rink. There was minor hockey, rec hockey. I remember going up and watch Charlie McDougall play rec hockey, and you think, is this actually rec hockey that he's playing? Because if he didn't body check you, he'd slash you, and he was pretty competitive, as some of you might know. First team that I played on was an Adam team. I was 10 in 1972. It was coached and formed by a teacher at Bedeque Elementary. His name was Don McGinnis. Some of you might remember him. I see Kenny Wall, we had him as a teacher, and he liked sports, so he formed this team. It was supposed to be an added team of 9 and 10-year-olds, but he included some younger kids, and not just enough to make a team. So my brother John, who was 7 at the time, was playing with us 9 and 10-year-olds. So it was the first team that I can remember playing at a Bedeque rink. Like Ronnie said, the rink was the hub. I lived down at the other corner, we called it, or Centerville or Bedeque, and our favorite days were the storm days. And instead of walking to the rink, we actually ran to the rink and got on the ice. In fact, those days, I don't know who was the manager, but we were always able to get on, no charge. It was great. Kenny Wall might have been there a few times, and Garth McFarland, but that's where we spent our storm days. Later on, it became $5 a head, which to us was kind of a big deal, but we managed to scrape the money together, and we spent a lot of time at the rink on days off school. When the rink burned, and I thought it was in '74, but I was pretty young, so we were all sad, but we heard we're getting a new rink, which was great, and we seen the rink going up, and it was nice facility, but one thing was kind of a stickler with a lot of us, a lot of the residents of the community. At that time, they built the rink, but they didn't put a regulation size ice surface in it. And those you might remember that. It's still the same size today. But we got a new rink, so whatever. And it was great. It had artificial ice, which was the big thing. So it would open in early October and run a lot of years till April. In between, when the rink burned, the surrounding communities were great for having us be able to play in different rinks, because all our teams were teams within a home. And the first team that I remember was the Murray Spuds. Sidney Murray sponsored them. They were the Pee Wee team, which was a little 1 year below us, and they won the provincial championship that year. And it was the headline in the paper was team within a home. So it was quite an accomplishment when you're playing all your home games or road games. So, again, the broom ball was a booming sport during the mid-'70s, probably lasted till the mid-'80s. In Bedeque, there was ladies and men's league. They used the rink. Bedeque Farms, Garth Toombs, I think he sponsored all the ladies' leagues and all the teams that were in the league. My mom, who some of you know, the one sport she played was broom ball. It was non-contact, but I think she ignored the rules. I'm sure she did, because she was in the penalty box for checking a lot. So, wasn't very big, but she had a little bit of an attitude. Right, Catherine? So, our first rec director was Bill Skirman, hired, I think, in 1978, and it was great. We had a rec director and rink manager, so it was a full-time job and full-time year-round activities. He brought senior men's hockey to Bedeque. It was the Bedeque Sure Games. Some of you might remember that team. And the PEI senior hockey at that time was a competitive league. And those men playing in the small rink, there was a lot of dust-ups and fights, and it was the place to go to watch hockey. Some really good hockey players that didn't play pro or anything, but played in that senior league. The new rink didn't last too long. As Don said, caught fire. It was my second year of midget hockey back then. Now it's U16. And again, we were a team within a home. I thought, oh no, here we go again. But the rink, amazingly, was rebuilt in time for the next season. We were kind of shocked that it would get built that quick, and the money came from somewhere, lots of support in the community. So we were back in the rink in time for the 1979-1980 season. There's a lot of very successful minor hockey teams from 1975 to 80. There's 3 Island Midget Championship teams. I think Brian Rogers, you were part of one of those teams. Juvenile, we had outstanding coaches in the community: Stuart Affleck, Donnie Smith, Billy Skirvin. I had all 3 of those guys coach, great coaches. Skating was popular on Friday nights and Sunday afternoons. Family skates, teen skates. I think I had my first girlfriend out to the skate, came out from Summerside, and as Ronnie said, was in the bleachers and had the first kiss in the bleachers. I think that's all Ronnie. Billy was instrumental. We had the figure skating club was formed, I think, when he was there. The new rink was used year-round because it had a concrete floor. There was, some of you might remember the Grand Prix wrestling there with the Giant and Killer Carl Krupp and the Cuban Assassin. That was a popular activity then. Teen dances, adult dances, eventually adult dances where there was alcohol being served. Teen dances, there was no alcohol being served, but there was alcohol being drank. So we never did get caught, I guess. Roller skating nights where you could rent the roller blades, not the new ones in the skates, the old-fashioned one was the 4 wheels. We used to do that on Friday nights. Ball hockey, lots of ball hockey, and even they brought the roller derby in a few times. And if you remember the roller derby where they'd throw the girls around and swing them around, they'd have to try and get to the front of the pack or they'd get knocked over. So the rink was a real hub in the 70s.
Maritime boxing championships.
And the boxing, yes, I remember the boxing. Some of the local guys used to put the gloves on. I think one of the McDonald boys was actually involved in a bout there. And that's, when I see Dave back here, I just think of his brothers and how lucky they were, because for those of you that know them, they only lived from here in the parking lot from the rink, so they could always get there ahead of us. So it was kind of, and growing up here in the 70s, Bedeque was a booming community because all the families seemed to have a lot of children. I can remember the families ranging from 3 kids up to 16. My next door neighbors, the Arsenals, had 16 kids. Down the road where I spent a lot of time, the Rogers, there was 11 of them. So spent a lot of time in that basement over there. It was also used for lots of the fields were used in the summer. There was minor softball, 2 adult men's team, the Prince County Softball League. Back then there was not a lot of baseball in PEI except for the bigger centers, Summerside and Charlottetown, but Bedeque had a minor softball program, and then eventually ended up having 2 men's teams for a small community in the Prince County League, and that was quite a thing. When we talk, Donnie was mentioned about minor soccer, where I had Donnie for a coach too. I think we used to drive him crazy. Brian's brother Bobby, I remember he'd sit always in Donnie's front seat of his car. We'd be going to road trips, and all of a sudden you get in the car, and I think this is just to piss Donnie off. You start pounding on Donnie's dash in the front. And I don't think the dash lasted the year in that car. Donnie, I just don't know how you put up with him. We had great community support. I think of all the sponsors for our teams, Bedeque Farms, Garth Toombs, the Callbecks. I played on at least 2 teams where it was Callbecks were sponsored. Sidney Murray, Campbell and Burns, Avon Foods. You can remember all these places, and without them, we wouldn't have half of what we were able to do in the 70s. The Dunk River Run, that started in 1976 in Bedeque, and it was started by Paul Reid of Lower Bedeque. It's still going today. And every July, there would be a hub there because it used to start at the rink. And I remember Paul, you'd see him running all the time, and then when he wasn't running, he'd be in some sort of rollers, I don't know, it's like cross-country skiing, running in summertime. So, yeah, so he was instrumental in starting that, and it's still an event here in the community today. The Bedeque days were huge in the mid-70s. Remember those? We had every year, it might have been the 1st of July, if not, it was close to July. Parades, events going on in the rink, softball games, tournaments. It was a big thing. The floats, if you got on a float, that was good. You thought that was it for you, if you got onto a float. It was a great decade to be growing up in a small community. Lots of support from everyone. I see, and one final story I'll tell, because I played a lot of hockey with Kenny Wall back here in the corner. I'm not going to let him off easy, but I said I'd keep it clean. Anyways, Kenny, as most of you know, he married Ruth Ann Howard, and they started dating, I think, Ruth Ann was 14, Kenny would have been 16, and I played hockey with Kenny. And I think we're going to a board to a game, and I was probably old enough to drive then. And Ruth Ann wanted to come along. I said, sure, hop in. So I'm driving. And it was just me and the two of them. So on the way back, I'm in Dad's old Dodge Coronet, and Kenny and Ruth Ann said, oh, we'll sit in the back. So I remember going down, just as you turn on the Bedeque Road towards where Harold Affleck used to live, I kind of peek in the mirror, and all of a sudden I don't see them. And I said, okay, I'll just keep on driving. And two, as you might know, and they're still married here 40-some years later. So, Kenny, that's about it. All I'll say about you. That's it. Again, it was great to come here and share a few things about that decade, and that's it for me. And now I'm introducing the next speaker, but the next speaker unfortunately couldn't make it, so I'll give you a little bit of the background on him. Most of you would know this gentleman. I've known him for 57 years. Probably followed him around and known the best of anybody from this community. His name is Gardner McDougall. Born in Summerside, lived and raised in Bedeque. His parents were Charlie and Evelyn. He had 3 siblings. He went to St. FX, obtained a phys ed degree like I did, only I went to Acadia, he went to X. Then he went to St. Mary's, obtained a BEd, Bachelor of Education degree. He was a PE teacher and high school hockey coach in northern Manitoba for 12 years. And I was there, I'll keep going, sorry. So he's been a full-time hockey coach for the last 30 years. He was a Tier 2 Junior A in a place called Paw, Manitoba for 4 years. He started the Tier 2 team there, and in the first year they were into the finals as an expansion team. 3 years later they won the Manitoba Championship. After that, he went to the University of New Brunswick. 24 years there, 9 national championships, a legend. He was supposed to probably be out of coaching, but he got a call from Robert Irving, and in the last 2 years, he's now coaching the Major Junior Moncton Wildcats, and he's still coaching. I was going into his 3rd year there. He's also been the head coach of the Team Canada World University Games, I think 2 or 3 times. He's been the head coach of the Canadian under-18 national team who won the World Championship 3 years ago now, coached a guy named Gavin McKenna. And not last Christmas, the Christmas before, he coached. He was assistant coach of the Canadian national men's junior team, the under-21s, when they were out in Minnesota. So he's had a highly decorated career. Now Gardner was supposed to give a few stories about his time in Bedeque, and mainly with regards to soccer and hockey, and he couldn't make it, so he says, well, can you ad-lib for me? And I said, well, I know a lot about you, so I'm going to speak for about 5 minutes on what I think Gardner would say, and leave it at that. Gardner and I, he started his working career as the rec director and manager in Borden in 1983-84. The next spring he left and went out west to teach. I followed him. I took over the rec director, rink manager in Borden, and the next year I left and went out in the same school district as him. his fond memories of soccer, because he was a big soccer player. He played goaltender at St. FX University. He told me, he says, Dr. McCurdy, I don't know if you guys remember Fred and John McCurdy, I think it was. They were instrumental in getting some top-notch facilities in Fernwood. Now, I mean, it was out of the way, but the field, you'd come up there, wow, this is a great facility in Bedeque, and they brought guys over from England to help coach and play. There was a huge senior soccer. I think Reid might have even played at one time. I know his brother Billy did. So Gardner played, he was younger then too. He played with men and some great players, and eventually through that, he said Dr. McCurdy was the one that really got soccer going. There was another gentleman that he wanted me to mention from Bedeque with John Bonus. He was instrumental with Donnie Reid, and I don't know who else coached here, but instrumental in the soccer program here in Bedeque. And it was strong for a small community. And John Bonus would get, if we didn't have enough players in Bedeque, he'd haul us out to Kensington because he taught there. So it was a big connection. I don't think John's mom no longer with us. So other things, hockey. His father Charlie was quite a hockey player. One story I want to share with us, and Brian might remember this, is we had Donnie Smith. I had Donnie Smith for a coach, and Gardner. He also coached Gardner ahead of me. Donnie Smith. We were over in Riverview for a tournament. For some reason, we always used to go to Riverview because there was a Smith connection over there. And we're in a game against Riverview, and Peck's losing, and all of a sudden Gardner loses, gets a penalty and gets a misconduct. So he's heading off the ice, and I'm there because we had played before. I was on the Bantam team. All of a sudden, Charlie's at the door. Gardner comes to the door, and Charlie goes to Gardner, get back out on the ice. You're not leaving the ice. And Gardner says, well, I'm kicked out, I'm done. So he tries to go off, Charlie won't let him, and then all of a sudden, Donnie Smith, who was a pretty imposing figure back then, he comes running off the ice, and he goes, he's leaving, he's my player. So it was the first time I seen actually Gardner and Charlie get into a bit of a squawk. So, if you could picture that, because anyways, so Gardner, again, it was soccer, hockey, it was just like all of us. He's a couple years older than me. As you can see, he went the hockey route. I stayed in the teaching route. I think the hockey route was a little better choice for him, if you know now. But he's still at it, and I give him a lot of credit. He wishes he could be here this evening, but his training camp for junior hockey opens tomorrow morning early, and he couldn't be here. I was over at the races with him Saturday night. He said he couldn't make it. So, anyways, that's about all I'll say for Gardner, and I'll pass it on to. Oh, am I supposed to read? Okay. Guess I'm reading another bio. The next speaker is Dawn Mose. Okay. Sport of softball and hockey are a big part of Dawn's life, whether playing, coaching, or volunteering over the years. She's a member of the Hockey PEI Board, member of Softball PEI Board, coached softball at Canada Games in 1993, mission staff for Canada Games, won the Breakthrough Award for Hockey, it's a national award. Volunteered for many events over the past 45 plus years, enjoyed every minute. Next year, she's on the coaching staff, will take a Masters women's softball team to Barcelona, Spain, to participate in the Masters softball tournament. I give you Dawn Mose.
Well, thank you. I think I'm in the same era here. I was asked to speak on how I got involved with sport here in Bedeque. And it started for me in 1976 when I got involved with the women's softball team. I wanted a place to play in the summer, and so I think there was an ad or something in the paper, and I came out, and I was welcomed out here, and Annie Smith was the coach at the time. And I'm just going to name some of the players that kind of took me under my wing, under their wing, because, you know, I was just a teenager and just anxious to play and always loved sports, I guess, through school for sure. And Jeannie Campbell, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you here remember Jeannie. She was a great pitcher in our team. And Sandra Mills was another pitcher. Sheila Grady Thompson, Nancy McDougall, Catherine McDougall, Heather Dawson, Sharon McDougall, Mary Smith, Kelly Smith, and Anne Marie Noonan were some of the players on the team that I played with and loved playing with. And as the time and the years went on, some of the older players, I will say, moved on, and we brought in some new players. And we played provincials here for the island. We went to some Atlantic tournaments or maritime tournaments at the time, and our team did very, very well. Again, I'm just going to say, I'm going to add for sponsorship through Bedeque, I'm just going to add a couple more names here. I don't want to repeat here what Steve said, but Jack Green was a big supporter also to the girls' softball, whether it was the minor level. Russell Gardner was another one. Charlie Dawson was another name that they sponsored our women's team or girls' team here in Bedeque, along with what Steve had said with the other sponsors here in Bedeque. Great sponsorship. I mean, you know, you come here as a kid and like I stand here again, and I'm on the board here in Bedeque for the last, 6 years, and it's 2026, and it's just like comes around full circle. Again, I got involved after that, played broomball back in the 70s, and Dawson Enterprise. Charlie Dawson was our sponsor. With Faye Toombs, I think a lot of you here would remember Faye. She played with us. Millie Dawson, Heather, Peggy Hamill. These are some names that, you know, have fond memories. Joanne Pinkham, Teresa Painter, who was a super unbelievable athlete. Janet Cameron, Ann Doucette, Karen Stewart, Kathy Stewart, Charlene Reeves, Lorna Casey, Elaine Arsenault, and Brenda McDonald. And this team, we went on and we played at the provincial level, the Atlantic level, and the nationals, different years, and represented this area very, very well, and our province as well. I'm going to move on here to 1978, when the minor girls team, I was involved with helping coach there with Annie Smith, Georgie Affleck, and myself. And I'm going to name the players on the team because they won the Maritime Championship that year. And we have a player that's in the crowd that was on that team, and that's Gwen Rayner. And on the team was Heather Dawson, Ruth Ann Howitt, and Waugh now, but some of these are mostly their maiden names. Nancy McDougall, of course she's Corcoran now, Catherine McDougall, Marina Traynor, Janice Keefe, Sheila Rogers, Karen Parker, Marcia Affleck, Shirley Ann Campbell, Patsy McClellan, Michelle Murphy, Pearl McClellan, and of course we have Gwen here. And we had a great team. We played, like I said, and we ended up winning the Maritime Championship, which was a feather in our hat. And during this time, we were invited to, we were at a tournament off island. And that was the time that the rink burned. But our team was on the boat, and we were stuck in ice. And we were on the boat for a lot of hours. And I'm going to say 5+, when you can correct me there. And I know Dawn, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we needed a vehicle to take the team. And we borrowed your van. And I was driving the van. But I had a vehicle of my own. And so the Bedeque Rink, they had a big tournament that same weekend. And so I asked the guys, I said, listen, you guys are going to be busy here, there are people coming and going. What should I do with my car to keep it out of everybody's way? And they said, listen, Dawn, take your car and park it right up beside the rink, right over here. I said, and nobody will bother, and it'll be out of everybody's way. I said, wonderful. So, parked it up by the rink. So we were on the boat. So the captain, which was Cook Howitt, comes down and he gets a hold of us and he tells us that the rink is on fire. Well, with that, I said, well, if the rink's on fire, my car's gone. So we were on, like I said, and he was in contact with some of the parents. Now, I don't know, Ronnie, if you got a call, but I know some of the parents were in contact with the captain, and because we were on the boat, like I said, for 5 or more hours. And we never got back to the rink till the wee hours of the morning. And lo and behold, there was my car in the middle of the ball diamond. There was a bunch of guys, and I had asked Brian today, because I can't remember, but it might have been Bobby Rogers and a bunch of them, Billy Bagnall, a bunch of them, that were around the rink, picked my car up, and actually picked it up and put it on the ball diamond. Wow. It was just amazing for me, because I was sure my car was gone. And these are some of, you know, and I think of all of the people that I was involved with and all of the players and the long-time friendships that you make over the years. And they talked about the deck days, and I know that we had a walkathon different times, and we had bake sales here. And I was on a committee with Claire Lockhart to help raise money for the Bedeque teams to help pay for uniforms or equipment or whatever needed to be. And these are some of the events that we put on to raise money, plus through sponsorship, selling tickets, but mostly through bake sales and so on and so forth. And it was great because we were able to help out a lot of teams doing that. And I think back, and I think, you know, here I am. I have a niece that's sitting here tonight, and Catherine's here, and she never played a team sport. She was in ballet. And we watched Catherine go into ballet. I didn't know anything about ballet, but I'd go every event, every time that she put on there was a concert or whatever. And from Catherine, since you were 5 or 6 till you graduated grade 12, there was always go to the Jubilee Theater and watch the ballet performance. And I learned so much, the discipline and the hard work that they put in. It's amazing. And so here Catherine is. She has a little 3-year-old. And like I said, she's never played a team sport. And she wanted to play hockey. She wanted to learn hockey. And here she is in Bedeque, the Donut League, learning hockey, playing on a team. And we, as a family, go and watch. And now her little fella, he's 3, he loves hockey, eats and breathes hockey. And he comes here to Bedeque, and he's on the ice learning to skate. And it's just amazing how things go full circle around. And I couldn't be any prouder, and I can't say enough about when you say it's the hub. It does, it's a social gathering, it brings people together, it creates volunteers, and certainly long-time friendships. And I just want to say thank you.
Just something that came to mind listening to all these here guest speakers talking about the fire. Yes, Cook, I did get the call when the fire was on at the rink. Roads were blocked, there was a snowstorm on, it wasn't really a good day. Sidney Green came over with his big tractor and snow blower, and he was putting snow up on the roof trying to get her out. But the village council, of which I was part of at the time, we assembled the mighty Bedeque Fire Squad. Believe it or not, right outside the window there was a little chicken coop, and it had one of those Ma and Pa kettle type of fire things where a big bar went across, 2 people got up there, and a big reel on the back. We hooked the end of the hose to Campbell and Burns' building, and we're off to fight the mighty fire. We unwound all the hose. I just felt like Jack from the horse story. And we got the hose all rolled out, and there was enough actually to reach to the rink. And somebody roared, "Turn her on!" the water made it all the way to Jack Green's little store before she froze. There we were holding the limp hose in this end and solid, frozen solid from the back end. That was the very last time that the mighty fire department was called upon for a fire. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Dave McDonald. Dave resides in Fernwood, played minor hockey and junior hockey at the Bedeque Rink, won the Adam B. Island Championship in 1992. Even still plays in the Old Timers Hockey League at the rink currently. Became the vice president of minor hockey and the vice president of Bedeque Rink in 2014 until 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave McDonald.
I'm a little shorter than everybody else, so thanks, Tommy. There's been a lot of talk about rink rats, and I certainly was a rink rat. My grandparents, Frank and Eva McDonald, owned the little white house right beside the rink, so I spent a lot of time at the rink. And I was pretty lucky because when I got tired at the rink, I just ran over to Grammy and Grampy's and I'd have a hot meal or something to eat and have a nap and back over I go. I'm kind of here to kind of talk about my time with the board and with minor hockey kind of in the 2000s, but you know, I grew up playing minor hockey in the 80s and spent a lot of time there. You know, we had teams that only had 7 players or 8 players, and you know, you called up people from other, you know, if we were playing in Adam, you'd be calling team players up from Mites or whatever. And I can remember one year I think I was in Mites, so I don't know what that is, 5, 6 years old. I played for the Mites, I played for the Adams, and I played for the Pee-wees all in the same year. You know, a lot of the teams only had 8 or 9 players, and if somebody was sick, you know, you got a lot of ice time playing in Bedeque minor hockey because there wasn't as many people to pick from. And but you know, we did. There was a group of us that played. I was lucky. My group of guys played pretty much right from Mites right up to, you know, to midget, and same guys. There'd be a few fellows that would mix in that group, but you know, we had really the same group of guys for really our whole time, and that was one of the highlights for sure, was winning the Island Championship in Adam, you know. And it's funny, I remember when I first started playing in Bedeque, they had jerseys with the big B on them, and you probably saw some pictures there, and I hate the Boston Bruins. And I couldn't wait to get the Pee-wee to be a lever mushroom, because I wouldn't have to wear those B with a great big B on the front, because I'm a Montreal fan. Anyway, in Adam, that year that we won the Island Championship, we went in a tournament in Slummond Park, and it was the year that the base closed. And the Adam team in Slummond Park had got brand new Coca-Cola jerseys. They were beautiful. These brand new red and white Coca-Cola jerseys. Anyway, we went in as misfits with different colored Boston Bruins Bedeque jerseys, and we won the tournament. And I think they were done, this was one of the last tournaments, and they gave us the jerseys. And that's how we got these Coca-Cola jerseys, was we won the tournament and we got these Coca-Cola jerseys, and I remember that. And we had them for the rest of the year, and I'm telling you, we just thought we were the, you know, top end of the whatever. But we did end up winning the Island Championship that year in those jerseys. Anyway, you know, I played all my minor hockey, and I played junior, and I'm still trying to play hockey now in the Old Timers League, but you know, I enjoy it, and it's been a huge part of my life. You know, I'm 46 years old, and it's been, I think, I started playing hockey when I was 3, so it's been, the Bedeque Rink has been part of my life, my whole life. my kids, you know, they came up and they played hockey, and I coached, and you know, I spent a lot of time at the rink coaching, and then in 2013, I got a call from my good friend Brian Rogers, and Brian had told me that the rink was probably not going to open that year. And I couldn't believe it. You know, my kids, at the time, my oldest fella would have been, you know, 7. You know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, where's my boys going to play, and where am I going to play? And so anyway, we formed a meeting, and Brian, you know, Brian was you know, had got a hold of quite a few of us, and we went up to the rink and we had a meeting with the board that was there then, and the board, you know, the board members at the time, you know, they were trying their best, and they did everything that they could do, but they just needed help, and at that time we formed a new board. We mustered up enough funds, you know, and we were able to open that year. And it was the board and people in the community that helped us. We painted the lines, we were able to open. Some people even gave money out of their own pockets to pay for the paint to put on the ice. And you know, it wasn't looking very good. And we knew we were one breakdown away from that rink closing. That's where it was in 2013, was we were one breakdown away, and I don't think a lot of people maybe in the community knew that, but we were one breakdown away. If that plant broke down, we were done. So we got it going, and we had a board meeting one night, and I think it was January, maybe early February, and one of the board members had suggested that there's this thing called Craft Hockeyville. And you know, it had been started a couple years before, and you know, maybe what we should do is maybe we should enter our rink. You know, it's for rinks that are having trouble, and you know, and so we did. We put a bid in. We had a great committee. We formed another committee that was just basically for the Bedeque Hockeyville, but most of the members on that were members from the rink board and the minor hockey board, and you know, other people in the community, and so we put a bid in, and lo and behold, didn't we get picked as one of the rinks that was going to get to compete. So we were one of the 16, and at that time there was no really guarantee, but if you could make it, I think to the next 8, you were guaranteed $25,000. So anyway, it was all on voting, and this whole community showed up. You know, everybody was voting, and lo and behold, we won the $25,000, and we made it to the next level, which was the top 4. And if you made it to the top 4, you got $50,000. And I think everybody in this community and everybody on PEI was voting for our little rink that year. I'm hoping that some videos are going to be able to play here, because I have some videos, and I'm hoping that they're going to be able to play them, because it shows the people in the community and the people that were part of that time voting. And we had voting stations set up at the rink. We had laptops. We had iPads, we had computers, we had, you name it, phones. Everybody we set up different times that, you know, it was schedules. People were like calling us and saying, what can I do? Vote, vote, vote. Get as many people that you can to vote. And everybody in the community was voting. And I remember it was the Charlie McDougall hockey tournament. And it was the Saturday night of the Charlie McDougall hockey tournament. Gardner was there with us. I think it was one of the only times Gardner's team didn't make it. And he was home this one weekend, and he was with us, and he actually played with us that year. He played with Charlie's Angels, and I was playing with him, and he played with us that year because his team did, one of the only times they didn't make it to the Nationals. And he was home that night, and we had it broadcasted upstairs in the room, and we had to wait I'm pretty sure, Brian, we had to wait for the second game. There was always 2 games on Saturday night, and they did the announcement in the second game, so it wasn't until like midnight or something. We were there till. Anyways, we were all there, and the rink was full. It was full of people, and we found out we had won $50,000, and what an accomplishment it was. And so we got the $50,000, and then the board went quickly to work. After that $50,000 came, we were like, okay, how can we turn this $50,000 into $250,000, and how can we turn this $250,000 into $500,000? Anyway, there was a committee that was formed, and people went out to the community, to businesses, to people, and it was just unbelievable the amount of support that we got from the community. I remember my brother Dwayne and I going and talking to Catherine, and we had told her what our vision was, and Catherine, she said to us, she said, "There's no reason why we can't make $1 million. There's no reason why we can't turn this into $1 million," and we did. We turned that $50,000 into $1 million for that rink, and the people worked tirelessly on this. It was just a group effort, and we got the new plant, and then we got the new boards, and then we got the new glass. The one thing that I was most excited about, and I think most would be, was we got new lights. Anybody remembers the old rink? She was pretty dark and dreary, and it was pretty hard to see, but when we got those LED lights, what a difference it made. And then, we raised enough money that we put all new rubber all throughout the whole rink, and we even put 2 new dressing rooms. 2 brand new dressing rooms that were built onto the end of that rink. And I remember one of the board members that was with us at the time, and she said, "Wouldn't it be great if we could raise enough money to pave the parking lot?" Because if anybody remembers the parking lot, you took your life in your own hands going into that parking lot, and a lot of people didn't have money struts left. And if you look down there today, it's paved. And it was really, that time, when Hockeyville was going on and everything was going on, it really brought our community together. It was an amazing time because everybody in the community was part of that Hockeyville. They were, because everybody had people voting, and they were telling people to vote. There was people that were down in Florida for their winter, spending their snowbirds, and they were down there voting. They're beside the pool, and we got pictures and we got videos of people voting. Like, it was an unbelievable community effort that did that Hockeyville, and it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had the community behind us. And really and truly, the whole island at that time was behind us. We were the only rink from the island that was vying for Hockeyville, and although we didn't win it, we won $50,000, which we turned into, what's down there today. So, it was fun, and it's great that the community and businesses and people from around our community and around the island supported it. As many of you have said, there's been lots of teams that have played out of that rink. There's been ball hockey that's been played in the summertime, and there's rec hockey leagues, and there's the Donuts, which some of you had already mentioned on. The Donuts is a huge organization that's playing out of that rink now, and there's been so many people that have been great volunteers. Kevin Skierman has worked tirelessly over the last 10, 15 years, as he was president, and he's fixing things, and he's doing the Zamboni, and he was on 2 boards. He was on the rink board and the minor hockey board, like a lot of people. Brian Rogers was helped us form that board, and then he was the minor hockey president. He didn't even have any kids. They were all grown up, and he was still the minor hockey president, And I can remember us having minor hockey meetings, and it was always a problem of getting numbers. Are we going to have enough kids? Are we going to have enough kids for this team? What are we going to do for this team? And Brian's famous line, it'll all work out. It'll just all work out. It'll work out. And it always did work out. We'd find a kid here, or we'd find a kid there, and to make the team or whatever. And it did all work out. But there's so many people, over all the years here. You've seen that so many people that are part of the Bedeque Rink, and that's why the Bedeque Rink is still where it is today. It's because of everybody, all of you, and all the people all up through, from the 40s right through till now that have kept that rink going. And luckily, when the rink needed some support, everybody has helped out with that. So I was just asked to kind of talk on that, and so that's why I'm here. But it was certainly it was a fun time during Craft Hockeyville, and I think we were pretty proud of our little rink in 2014 when that happened, and everybody was part of it because everybody was voting and going on. So anyways, that's yeah, if you want to show the videos, I was able to get some videos from
Kids have a friendly game at the Bedeque Rink. Upstairs, a more intense competition. Supporters of the rink are glued to their computers, trying to max out the votes for Craft Hockeyville.
I think everybody's just excited and nervous and dedicated and committed, and we're giving it all that we have.
Bedeque is in the Final Four and up against Kingston, Nova Scotia for the Eastern Canadian Division. The Western rinks are Salmon Arm, BC and Sylvan Lake, Alberta. East and West winners will compete for the Hockeyville title and the right to host an NHL preseason game.
Wouldn't mind doing that.
People can vote as many times as they want, up until 1 a.m. A group of volunteers saved the Bedeque Rink from closing this year. They want to make sure it stays open.
A lot of people couldn't afford to have their children anywhere else or to travel farther to play. It's a gathering place to meet with your neighbors and your friends, and it's just really the heart of the community. So we don't want to see that die.
Equipment breaks down regularly. Heat and electricity bills are high. Bedeque is guaranteed $50,000 for making it this far. It gets $100,000 if it makes it to the final two.
We'd be looking at a lot of energy efficiency upgrades, so going forward we can keep our energy costs low.
There's lots of online voting happening in Bedeque, but people here say they're getting lots of support outside the community as well.
We hear they're voting all across PEI and Canada, and it's just really got us excited.
This store in Summerside has a sign up outside and inside a computer voting station.
There's a lot of traffic through, so if they just take notice of the computer and take a couple of minutes to vote, it would be muchly appreciated by Bedeque and all of this area.
Hockey Night in Canada will announce the two finalists on Saturday. Bedeque supporters hope they can stay in the game. Laura Meter, CBC News, Bedeque. The Bedeque Rink is quiet today, but an off-ice competition is in full swing. People are here with their computers, voting, and hoping Bedeque can make it to the next stage of the Craft Hockeyville competition.
Just keep going until your eyes get crossed. You can do it anymore.
Just gonna keep going until I think we're still. Online voting will determine which rinks make the top four. This is the last day. Voting closes at 1 a.m., but there's no limit to votes per person, so the small community is doing all it can to max out its numbers.
It's really moving forward, so we have to do it, so keep voting.
Bedeque is the only PEI rink in the competition now. By making the top 16, it is guaranteed $25,000.
We're blown away by making it this far. I mean, to be selected top 16 across Canada is really something else. And the support that we've had, the votes we've got so far from communities around us is just unreal.
The rink almost didn't open this year. It needs extensive repairs. Volunteers are determined to keep it going. The rink is part of history for many families.
It's about keeping communities, rural communities alive, thriving, etc. on.
For the future of the kids in this community, we need to keep the rink.
They say they're getting lots of support from all over PEI. The 4 finalists will be announced Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada. Laura Meter, CBC News, Bedeque.
I have one more job this evening. It's my esteemed pleasure to present the 2026 Citizen of the Year. On behalf of the rural municipality of PEI and area, we recognize this person for many years of dedication and service for community service towards the Bedeque Area Rec Center, and particularly in many years of single-handedly organizing the Bedeque Recreational Senior Hockey League for well over 4 decades. A lot of you people know who I'm talking about, but Brian Rogers, the son of Jerry and Lillian Rogers, and he comes from a big family, has been a part of the hockey rink in the ball community for many years. He has given many volunteer hours and time to hockey tournaments and ball tournaments. He's looked after rec leagues and old-timers hockey leagues. He has been the minor hockey president on more than one occasion. And as I said, when his kids weren't even, they're done. And on the rink board. Brian has played hockey on many different teams growing up and on many different ball teams. He has worked tirelessly at helping keep the rink functioning and open. And I'm very honored to present Brian with the Citizen of the Year on behalf of the municipality of Bedeque area.
And that sort of ends our evening's presentation on the Central Bedeque Rink. Thank you all very, very much for attending. Thank you for Ron, Don, Stephen, David, and Heather especially. Heather was a godsend to me. Helped me in every way that I could attack. Doug, thank you for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation. And all have a good night and travel safe.